Hello out there. I think we're on the air. Yeah, we are. What a beautiful day. My God, what a beautiful time. It is Thursday, October the 7th, 2 days post-election, the biggest election in our history for sure, possibly the history of the world. Let's start with that today. I'll get that loaded up. But in the meantime, we're on Zaps today. I figured out how to fund the account. I should have figured this out yesterday, but it's kind of hard to do things on the live stream. I got the reverse dark king today, the light king. We got gray and gold and the black hoodie on today. So we had a couple people asking about the king stuff yesterday. Must be new people. I wear this hat almost every day on the show, but yesterday we hit an all-time high in viewership. I think we had 85 people watching at once. We hit an all-time high in Bitcoin yesterday. We hit an all-time high in likes on the show yesterday. We had an all-time low on the amount of minutes streamed on Zap stream yesterday because the stream cut off. But it looks like we're rolling today. So I got the Zap stream over on this side of things. I learned my lesson. I shut off the TV in the background. I didn't know that the microphone would pick it up. So I was doing clips last night and I saw somebody commented to turn off the TV. So your wish is my command. Also, we got another one of these today. And I realized why I was so buzzed yesterday on the show. These iced coffees apparently are double espresso pods for the Nespresso machine. So and then I added a shot of espresso on top of that. And I never drink espresso. So I had a double shot of espresso in the iced coffee and then an extra shot because I had wanted some espresso. I thought I would add some. So I had a triple shot of espresso yesterday. And I hadn't eaten yet because we woke up at 4. We drove here. We settled in, did the show. So yesterday was wild. 2-hour show. All-time highs everywhere. We're at all-time high again today. I just changed the name of the show today. I had it as Nation State Adoption Has Begun. It might still be that. But I updated it to be Uncharted Territory for Bitcoin because we are. And nobody's even really talking about it that much. We hit an all-time high yesterday. We hit an all-time high after the election. And we're on an all-time high right now. And nobody cares. But they will. They will. So we're going to talk about that. We got some nation state adoption. I want to talk a little bit more about MicroStrategy today because I did a little clip last night. And actually, there's been lots of people watch it and lots of people commenting on it. So I figured I would do part 2 because it's always hard for me to say everything that I want to say when I don't really plan on it without any notes or anything. So I got a couple follow-up things on the MicroStrategy strategy, part 2 we'll call it. And it's going to be a shorter show today, not too short, but not 2 hours long like yesterday. That was way too much. And we got stuff to do. We got the Regina. What's it even called? Regina Bitcoin meetup, maybe. Let me get it right. I know it's put on by the Regina. Yes, Regina Bitcoin meetup tonight. 6 p.m. The gates open. From what I hear, there's people already lining up with bushwhackers to get in there. No, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how many people show up. I'm excited to meet some people. I'm excited to talk, believe it or not. And I was at QuickBit today. That's why I'm a little bit late. Where I wanted to do the show at 1 o'clock here. 2 o'clock Eastern, but I got into QuickBit and both Dale and Leander were there. So I chatted with them for about an hour and I was late for our guy, Arnie. He's not able to be in the shots here. So I figured I would, there he is. Want to say hi, Arnie, or no? It's a beautiful day here. We got the door wide open here, which is pretty rare. Especially in November. Doors wide open here to the patio. I got no socks on. I'm drinking iced coffee. What the hell more could we ever ask for? What could we ask for other than this? Timber Crasher. No way, another evening show. Good afternoon, Bitcoiners. Well, it's 2 p.m. here, just about 2 p.m. So what we're going to do today, I kind of mentioned a few things we're going to talk about. This whole week's going to be a little bit different. My schedule is way off. My routine is way off. I'm in a different location. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I should have asked that right off the start. But I don't see any comments saying we can't hear you, so it must be good. So basically what we're going to do a similar show to yesterday. I have no notes. I have no agenda. We have 3 days of no agenda Fridays this week. So a couple things to talk about, but for the most part, I'm going to be keeping up with the chat in YouTube and the Zap stream. I see there's more people over in the Zap stream than yesterday, which is good. So let's kick things off here. We got Timber Crasher, we got Jason, we got Dale. By the way, Quick Bit in Regina, great spot. I was very impressed walking in there. It's kind of the perfect size for a place, I think, because you don't want to have too much space other than waste of heat and money. But it's just nice. It felt very cozy and comfortable in there. It's very, very well decorated. Orange Bitcoin crypto theme, mostly Bitcoin, and they got a lot of good products in there. So I'm going to go back there tomorrow, meet with Dale and Leander, and I'll probably take some pictures in there and post them tomorrow. It's a great spot. So shout out to QuickBit for the hospitality today. I get a nice hot coffee there this morning. We're living on coffee right now. We're living on espresso. I'm new to the espresso world, and I'm loving it. What else we got here in the chat? We got some bombers, some rider chat. We got Muslim Bitcoiner. Still finishing up my cup of tears from Damala voters. Ooh, I've been seeing some wild videos online of people losing their minds. And you know what? I don't. I said on the show yesterday, I think this is the perfect time for people to unite instead of making fun of each other and rubbing it in, because we took a lot of shit for a lot of years from the left side. And when I say we, I mean whoever would be voting for Trump in this live chat today. But I don't think it's necessary to rub it in. I really think that, we just need to build things together. We need to focus on building and growing and a bright future. And Bitcoin's going to allow that. But at the same time, some of those videos that I saw, they have to be mocked. Like first of all, you don't act like that. Second of all, you don't film yourself when you're acting like that. And I think that we need to convert some of the schools. I think public schools and universities, I talked about, it was an idea from Bitcoin and guy, the None Your Business guy. He said that we should be converting the universities and colleges in the future into old folks' homes because of the infrastructure and the amenities inside. But I think we should be turning some of them into mental institutions, because there are a lot of people who are mentally sick right now. And I don't mean to say that in like a negative way, but there are a lot of people out there, dangerous people, who are mentally sick. And it's scary. People talk about the border, people coming in through the border, illegal immigrants coming through the border. There's people within our own borders already who are a danger and a liability, and they need help, honestly. So some people need to be mocked. Some people need to be institutionalized, but for the rest, we need to work together with. That's what I think. Bitcoin Buddha is in both chats this morning. Hey, look, we got Mav21 over in the Zap stream. Zapped 4.2 thousand sats this morning. The vibe has shifted, hasn't it? It has shifted for sure. And I want to get to that. I'll look at that right now, because I thought this was a very important tweet that was sent out last night from our good friend Bukele. What's his name? What's his first name? President Bukele. Twitter really needs to work on searching. How do you spell Bukele? I don't know. I need to find it though. Where would you start looking? I guess I'll have to Google it. It must be BUE. It's got to be BUE. Boo. No, it's not. Can someone help me out here? How do you spell Bukele? Okay, there it is. B-U-K. Thank you. There it is. All right, this is the tweet that Nahib, that's his name. I just call him President Bukele. But this is the tweet he sent out last night, and I think it's absolutely true. And I think most Bitcoiners recognize this right now. But I think, and the rest of the people will catch on eventually. They'll catch up. Just give them some time. But this is from Nahib Bukele last night, President Bukele from El Salvador. He said, no matter what your political preference or whether you like what happened or what's yet to come, but I'm certain you don't fully grasp the fork in humanity or in human civilization that began yesterday. I like that they use fork. The fork in human civilization. And for those who are familiar with Bitcoin, you understand what a fork is. You change direction, change the code, you change the path. And he's absolutely right. I think that other than the policies, other than all that kind of stuff, it's a new vibe, as Mav21 said. It's a new vibe. It's a fork. It's very positive. And the future is just going to be so incredible. That's the thing for me. It's like, it's so far beyond money and wealth. It's just everything. Society, family, everything is just going to get so much better from here because throughout history, it's always been like this. There's always been a pendulum. Always. Cycles, pendulum, whatever you want to call it. But I think most people would agree to this, the fact that we swung way too far past the point of sanity. We've hit the peak. And so it's going to start coming back. And honestly, I hope it stays somewhere in the middle. And people have different definitions for what the middle would be. I think the middle is common sense and logic. And if you can find that balance somehow, then the swings won't go too far either way. I think you want to find some middle ground there. And I think that we have forked. There is a new vibe. And we got another all-time high today, I think. Noah's over in the Zap stream. Zap 421 sats. Thank you, Noah. So I should have worn my glasses here. I'm squinting over at my other screen there. Let's check on the price because I didn't do the metrics again today. I was too busy chatting. I was too busy a quick bit. Wasn't a very quick bit. 76,466 US dollars. What was the high today? Looks like we're only like $100 below the all-time high. But this is what I think is going to happen here. This show is less than a year old now. And this is the second day in a row where we've had an all-time high during the show, which hasn't happened in the last year. But I remember the last bull run we had. And I've told the story a couple times before, but there's probably a lot of people who haven't heard the story. But we had there was about 5 or 6 of us, I think, and we were invested in cryptocurrency, not Bitcoin, but another one. And I don't need to say it because I don't want people to be buying anything other than Bitcoin. But it was going up. Like we bought it, I think, at $1 or less than $1. And so every time it hit a new dollar, like it went $1, then $2, $3, $4. Every time it would hit a new dollar, like a round dollar, we would shotgun beers, and we would take videos shotgunning beers. And it seemed like it was every day. And I remember a couple days where there was like 3. We went from, say, $7 to $10. So we had to shotgun 3 beers that day. But that's the hysteria that I think most people haven't lived through yet. And I think we're going to be going through that here. This thing hasn't even started yet. We got an all-time high right now. We have a Bitcoin-friendly president in the United States. We have BlackRock here now, Fidelity. Everybody's here now, except, unfortunately, the little guy and the people who can't buy it yet. But we're going to start doing that, and it's not going to slow down. I see the Hobbit is over there. New day, new all-time high. Is that what a real bull run looks like? Let's stay humble and keep stacking. No, this is not what a real bull run looks like yet. I don't think it's even started. But we can still celebrate. You guys got to celebrate the small wins along the way. We got Hobbit zapped 121 sats over in Zapstream, and Daniel zapped 420. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Hobbit, for the zaps. All right, who else we got here? We got Rajesh says, looks like this is the new show timing. No, it's not. It's not. I'll be doing this again tomorrow, probably the same time-ish. And then that's it. Then I'm back to early mornings for me. I was up at 4 again today. 4:30, I think. Because Bridge she hopped on a plane to Vancouver for a night or two. I don't know. So I had to drive her to the airport for 5:30 this morning. So I'm in the 4 o'clock a.m. routine right now. Not great, to be honest with you. Not great. But Strange Love, good morning. Or good afternoon, I mean. Afternoon delight, Cheesy Balls 301. Daniel, yo, looked like a Guinness. I wish this was a Guinness. I'll probably have a couple Guinnesses tonight. I'm sure Bushwhacker sells Guinness. Noah says she likes the afternoon. I mean, I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. And yesterday there was about 2 or 3 times more people in there than usual. So I don't know. Maybe I'll think on it. There's a lot of new faces, but there's also a lot of faces who are usually in here that weren't yesterday. So that kind of sucked. But anyways, always nice to see some new faces in here. Run a Node says, Daniel, my fellow Bitcoiner is very important. Very true. Here we go. Here's a good question from Marlo Chris Snoop. Are there any good careers I can get into related to Bitcoin? All I do is watch crypto and charts all day at work. Might as well work in a career I'm passionate about. I'm in consulting right now. Well, I would say a couple things to that. If you're in consulting right now, that means you have good customer service, which I think is going to be in demand. I think the future we're heading to here, everybody worries about AI and robots replacing their jobs, and they will. But I also think that there's going to be a very large demand for human-to-human interaction. So if you can find a business that caters to that, whether it's consulting, whether it's something along those lines, customer service, people are always going to crave and need human interaction with each other. And if you're a good communicator, that's going to be a huge skill in the future. If you're good at memorizing numbers and spreadsheets, you're going to have a job for a little while, but you'll be probably replaced, unfortunately. But if you have good people skills, I think that it's going to be in high demand. And I think there's going to be a lot of new people who are looking to get into Bitcoin. QuickBit is a perfect example of that. They have a brick and mortar here in Regina. And that's what people need. People want a face-to-face interaction when they're dealing with money. So I would say that's one option for somebody who's in that same position, would be get into like Bitcoin consulting. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like helping people buy Bitcoin and send it to their wallet. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of those people. But if you can specialize in something related to Bitcoin, whatever that is, whether it's like business adoption for Bitcoin, whether it's Bitcoin mining, fitting houses, join up with a plumber in your area, something like that. A lot of things like that. But the other thing too that I would say is, depending on what you consult with, like start a YouTube channel, because this is where everything's going to right now. Everything's going towards the attention economy, where people's attention, that's what you're going to get paid for. If you can find somebody's attention and if you can hold their attention, you're going to do very well in the future. So depending on what you consult on, depending on what your expertise is in, I would highly suggest starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, starting a zap.stream channel, and just grow it. And don't expect a whole lot of things to happen right off the start. It's a very long game, just like Bitcoin. But if you start building it today, when the time comes, you're going to be ready for it. Right. And this is a really good question. I love talking about this stuff because it's important, because there's a lot of Bitcoiners out there who are asking the same kind of question right now. But the next thing there you have to understand is, if you are good with customer service, if you are good with consulting and helping people, there's going to be tens of millions of companies on earth. Everybody's going to have Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So they're going to need help buying Bitcoin. They're going to need help protecting their Bitcoin. They're going to need help managing their Bitcoin in terms of layer 1, Lightning, Liquid, eCash, setting up their payables. That whole thing is going to just be a massive industry. And there's going to be tens of millions of companies around the world who are going to need help with that. And if you're watching crypto and charts and Bitcoin stuff and you're learning, you just have to understand how valuable that information is, because all of those companies are going to either need a consultant or they're going to need a full-time employee, depending on the size of the business. But the head of Bitcoin strategy is going to be a huge job in the future, because there's such a huge disconnect between the amount of people who have knowledge and people who are going to need that knowledge, and businesses and governments, municipalities. So that's another one. And then the last thing I would say on that is whatever kind of consulting you do, look into starting your own. I'm guessing you're probably your own business, but if not, I would say get really good at that. And whatever you do, get really good at that. Make a bunch of money, and all the profits, all of your cash flow, put that into Bitcoin. And as your balance sheet, as the price of Bitcoin goes up, the value of your company is going to go up with it. And then you can afford to market your company. And then you can afford to hire the best people, because you're going to have such a huge egg sitting there. Leverage, future leverage. That's what you're buying with Bitcoin, whether in your personal life or your business life. But that's what you're buying, is future leverage with Bitcoin. So any of those three things, I think you're going to be sitting pretty. But the main thing, and that's how I would end this, would be don't wait. Because understand the opportunity right now. Understand how hard it is for a lot of people, and understand that gap that I talked about between people with knowledge and people who need that knowledge. There's a huge gap, but there's going to be people coming, and it's going to fill that. The gap's going to start going like this. So what you need to do is just start, whatever it is. Even if your YouTube channel or your podcast gets 5 listens or 200 subscribers for the first 2 years, that doesn't matter. You're rehearsing, you're practicing for when the time comes and you need to use those skills or whatever it leads to. So don't wait. Start today. I see Spaceman zapped 420 sats for Jax. Oh, sats from Jax. I gotcha. Sorry, I should have worn my glasses here. Thank you. I think that's Spaceman's dog, Jax. And thank you to whoever sent with Arnie's code here. Somebody sent like 8,000 sats yesterday to that. I don't like that I can't see who sent it. I wish I could, but it's kind of cool too, the anonymous aspect of it. So thank you to whoever sent Arnie some sats. Arnie might be the only dog in the world who has his own UTXO. And we're getting close to another UTXO for him. So thank you to everybody, and thank you for the big zap yesterday to Arnie. All right. Well, every time I go on a little tangent like that, I get way behind in the chat. Spaceman says, my dog Jax. Short for Jackson. Gotcha. Look at this. We got an anonymous zap of 21 sats. First zap for Big J. I'm thinking that's Jay from the YouTube chat. The first zap. We've had a couple first zaps on the show here. It's pretty cool. Daniel says, such a great idea for the doggy healthcare plan. I mean, it is. It's pretty cool that we have that for Arnie, and when he needs it, he's going to have it. But I also think that whatever fund we're building for like our Monday shows for the dogs, and from Arnie's wallet too, like he's probably not ever going to use those sats, right? So kind of my longer term plan for this whole thing is take the fund, take Arnie's sats, unless we need them, but it's going to be for rescue dogs, and whatever that leads to, who knows? In a decade, who knows what those sats are going to be worth? Who knows how many shelters we can either help or build or whatever with it. And that's the thing too, is like, this is the difference between Bitcoin and fiat right now, kind of where we are. Because if I just had a show on YouTube, right? If I had a show on YouTube and I said, okay, I'm going to raise all this money for rescue dogs, and people were sending in super chats. And let's say we got $2 here and $3 here, maybe a $20 one time or a $100 one. Think about how many years we would need to save for, right? Think about how many years we would have to save for to get something substantial for rescue dogs. Maybe 50 years before that money that we raise could actually fucking do something. So, but with Bitcoin, like people are sending 5 cents worth, which is, let's say 50 sats, or 50 cents worth, whatever it is, 500 sats. And those are going to have a very significant amount of purchasing power in the future. That would never happen in a fiat world, ever. So we're doing that. We're doing that with a golf course that we want to buy for 88 sats. We're doing that with the rescue dog fund and Arnie's insurance fund too. So that's the beautiful thing about kind of where we are right now. We got a fight in the chat over what the price of Bitcoin is going to be worth here. We got Bitcoin to 195K. No timelines on these though. It's kind of cheating. In my opinion. Epic Media though, good. That's another new face in the chat. Jay Burr says Bitcoin to 2.5 million. Bitcoin to 10 million. Winston Boogie, Bitcoin to 100 million. Oh yeah, Jason, this is exactly what I'm talking about. At the start of the show, we talked about the mental illness of a lot of people out there. Some literally think they're going to enter internment camps. Where does this come from? And the crazy thing to me about this is like, this is no longer a hypothetical conversation. It's no longer a hypothetical with Trump. The guy was already the president for 4 years. Did your life get better or worse? Did you end up in any internment camps? Did he end up kicking legal immigrants out? No. Most would say that was the best time in U.S., well, in the last 100 years anyways. But it's not a hypothetical anymore. People were saying he's going to bomb, he's going to use the nuke codes, all this stuff. Going to get very violent. I was watching CBC when this TV was on yesterday. They were talking about how she ended the segment. She was fairly neutral with it, as much as they could be neutral wise. But she ended the segment with like, well, the next 4 years should be highly unpredictable. And I'm like, no, it's not highly unpredictable. The guy was president 4 years ago. Like, do people forget that? I just don't understand it. And then I think it was the premier of Nova Scotia sent out a tweet last night. Let me read this because it is absolutely insane what goes through these people's heads. I'm pretty sure she's the premier of Nova Scotia. I have to read this because it was absolutely insane. Okay, let's see. Claudia. Leader of the Nova Scotia NDP for Dartmouth. She, her. That's a huge shock there that she has pronouns in her Twitter bio. But this is the message she wrote on Twitter. Like many of you, I woke up to the chilling election results in the United States. Sadness and anger don't begin to capture how I feel. Women will continue to be denied basic health care. Families will continue to fear for their children depending on how they show up in the world. A whole generation will grow up without a leader, or with a leader who is small and mean and full of hate. So if you woke up this morning feeling exhausted, feeling like no matter what we do, it doesn't matter, you are not alone. But remember, we are Nova Scotians. We are strong. We persevere through storms and wind, and today, maybe even fear. We are not divided, but united. So hug your family a little harder today. Check in with friends and take some time for yourself. Look in on your neighbors. It's what makes us Nova Scotians. Yours in solidarity, Claudia Chender. She, her. Hey, she's wearing an orange jacket. Good on her. Why can you always tell when you look at somebody what their politics are? Why? Oh, she's wearing orange for NDP. That makes some more sense. Back to not liking her. And the other surprising thing here, comments turned off. Sickening. Absolutely sickening. Oh, okay. It said J is for Jor. I got you. Well, thank you for that. I thought it was Jay from the YouTube chat. It says the dramatic reading of the tweet is hilarious. I mean, this is like, what the hell is going on? What isn't, it has 1 million views, so it's good. And if you look at a lot of the quote tweets, a lot of Nova Scotians do not agree with what she's saying, which is why her comments are off. What was I going to do here? Somebody said all-time high right now. We hit another all-time high live on the Bitcoin journey. There we go. 76, 656. I'm showing a lot on my phone today because we only got one laptop here. New all-time high. Maybe we should just do a live show every day and we'll keep hitting new all-time highs this time of day. All right. Well, the good news for the people who feel that way is they're probably not going to end up in an internment camp. Just guessing. But on the flip side of that, bad people are about to pay for what they've done. I have no doubt about that. One of my favorite Trump tweets was very early in his political career. I think it was before he was even president. And he said a couple things. He said that anybody caught touching children should face a quick, it said, we can easily solve the child abuse or child trafficking, whatever it is. Anybody who fucks with kids, we can easily solve the problem. A swift and quick trial. It was like death penalty, something like that. And he also said, he talks about that. And that's the one thing that I love about Trump. He's not afraid to do that. He would never hurt anybody. He would never do anything bad to anybody who didn't do anything bad in the world. But those people, and I think that they can feel it too. You know, like the politicians who are part of some of the crime that has happened, the Hollywood folks, the Diddy supporters who are all in favor of Kamala. There's a bunch of bad people who are going to pay for what they've done here for these next 4 years. And I think that that's going to be so sweet to finally see that through. And one of the things that people talk about with Trump is like, the only thing that they remember about his first term was that he said that he was going to drain the swamp. And people are like, well, he didn't drain the swamp. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, we really have no idea what's going on. Like the average person, me sitting here talking to a live stream, we don't know what's going on. We have no idea what's going on. So maybe some of it was already drained. Some of these people are already gone. Some people have already been imprisoned. And you can find little crumbs along the way for this stuff happening. One of the clips I always think back to is when they were talking about John McCain. So when John McCain died, he was a traitor to the American government. And when he died, I think they said it was like a quick cancer or something like that. But then somebody on TV, they were doing an interview and they said, it's been a couple of days since John McCain was put to death. And a lot of people were like, what did he say? Put to death? I thought he died of like a heart attack or a quick cancer, whatever it was. So there's just crumbs like that along the way where you know that we don't know what's going on. So maybe he has drained the swamp, but it also takes a hell of a lot longer than 4 years to clean out the mess that has been gathering for the last 100 years in Washington, D.C. So I have no doubt. I think that this time is going to be different. As Mav said over here, the vibe is different and the punishment is coming. And I hope it trickles down to Canada too, because there's 13 known traitors of our government, of our country, and they're still showing up to work every day. Okay, let's take a break here. Too wound up. Hey, Arnie? We're too wound up. Okay. Daniel says the Fed eased by 25 points. So they dropped the interest rates by 25 points today. Probably something to do with another all-time high. But that's the thing. I was getting ready for today's show, and I was like, there's a million things I could talk about today. The Fed, Jason Lowry, nation state stuff. There's a million things going on in the world. Like, where do you even begin? So I figured I would just do another live chat here today. Work overtime, stack on every dip, eat beans and rice. Well, hopefully you won't be eating beans and rice forever, because we got to be making some moves here sometime. Well, we already are, right? Dingo Booty. One of our favorite names in here. Bring back the asylums, the insane asylums. I agree. We need places to put them. They're actually a threat to society. They need help. This is not me being a dick. This is me acknowledging the fact and understanding the fact that these people need serious mental help. And no drugs, no money, nothing is going to cure it other than, you know, some time away. Winston Booney. Hey, my man, we disagree on a bunch of stuff, and I can be more diplomatic. But I'm a sane man in clown world, and it makes me passionate, so I try harder. I appreciate you. I appreciate you too. It's what it's going to take. That's what it's going to take, is people understanding the fact that we're never all going to get along. We're never all going to agree to everything. But we have to focus on building a better future for ourselves and for the kids, really, more so than anybody else. So we have to call things out. We have to be truthful. We have to be honest. We have to be transparent. And that's going to trickle down. You have to lead by example. You have to. And that's the vibe shift that's happening, because, you know, people like Trump, people like Elon, whether you agree with all the things that they do or not, the one thing that they've been pushing from day one is freedom of speech and talking about the truth. As hard as it is to talk about, we have to go in that direction. Rick's Remake says, I was wondering to myself earlier, if the price of Bitcoin, say 10x's, does that mean the market cap has to 10x at the same time? Well, there's geese flying by. You hear that? They must have been heading south and they changed their mind because it's so nice here today. But the answer to your question is yes. The market cap is simply one of the prices as a metric in the market cap. The market cap is just the price times the amount of in the stock market, it's price times shares outstanding. But in Bitcoin, it's price times the amount of Bitcoin that are in circulation. So I think it's 19.6 million right now. So that's what it would be. It would be 76,000 times 19.6 million. That's the market cap. So as the price goes up of Bitcoin, then the market cap goes with it. Not a stupid question. This, like all this stuff, the average person does not have any. We just are never taught this stuff, right? We're never taught this stuff, and it's like that's the kind of stuff that bothers me with like the people making other people feel stupid for, you know, if you can't fix an engine, or if you don't know this about the siding of a house or whatever it is. It's like, unless you're taught that, none of this stuff is really just human nature or common sense. Like we're living in a world that's never been explored before. This whole thing is uncharted. But unless you grow up in that, or unless you take time to learn it yourself, none of this stuff is really common sense to anybody. So there definitely are no stupid questions related to Bitcoin or anything like that. Trump, Chico in the van. Man, this coffee's solid. Trump ruining my cheap stacking. Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about it. As good as it is to see the price going up, it means we get less sats for we get less real money for our fake money. Parker, good afternoon, my friend. Dan says I need to learn how to consolidate my UTXOs. I think that's a fairly common issue for Bitcoiners. It's another thing too. It's like We just weren't taught this stuff. Nobody knows what a UTXO is. Nobody knows what wallet to use. Nobody knows how to manage them. So Dan, what I would say to you, if you're still in the chat here, this was about half an hour ago already, but if you're still in the chat, I would suggest you join Living in the Future, because in the private community right now, I'm doing it. I don't know if it's probably going to be 10 parts. Let's say a 10-part series. And we're going to focus on a different topic each time. And it's going to be for serious Bitcoiners. Not like, advanced. There's not going to be any extreme topics like roll-ups or covenants, none of that stuff. But like, if you have a significant amount of Bitcoin and you want to protect that Bitcoin, we're going to go through 10 different kind of topics that will help you do that. And one of the sessions is going to be on UTXOs. So you join that, it's $5 a month. The series is going to run for about 2 months. So it's going to cost you $10 if you cancel after that. We've done 2 courses already. The first one was on like key management, a little bit of inheritance stuff in there. And then the second one was really leaning in and living on a Bitcoin strategy and how to kind of prepare for what's coming here. And we got about 8 more courses that we're going to be doing. Each video is going to be between 15, 20 minutes long. I don't want to overwhelm everybody with it, but it's very important information. So that's what I would say, Dan. Invest $10 now and learn about UTXOs, how to manage them, how to consolidate them, things to watch out for. And that $10 you spend in 2024 could save you legitimately thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars in the future when you actually go to spend your Bitcoin. Because it's very easy to buy Bitcoin. It's the easiest thing about it. But it's hard to protect it. It's hard to manage it. It's hard to know about the fees and how much to pay for that in the future. And if you get caught on the wrong side of that, it could be very, very, very expensive for you. So that's what I would say to that. So check out the course. I think you'll learn a little bit from the course itself, plus the UTXOs. And then if you need like if you want to spend an hour with me or somebody else on the team here, then we can do that too. Ryan, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, the market cap has nothing to do with the multiplier effect. Well, the market cap doesn't, but there is an effect in terms of dollars coming into the market versus how much the price goes up. But the market cap itself is strictly based on price times the shares outstanding or the coins outstanding, coins in circulation. Hey, this is very timely. Rob says, hey, Jordan, not sure if you've seen Palm's interview with Howard Lutnick. Very eye-opening. It's 2 hours, but I highly recommend you watch it. That's good timing. Actually, I watched a bit of it. It's on my to-do list. Howard Lutnick is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. He's worth billions, and he has a ton of Bitcoin. And he's very well connected to NYDIG, which is the New York Digital Assets Group or Digital Investments Group. NYDIG, connected to Saylor, connected to Trump, connected to all these people. And Howard Lutnick is actually going to be, from what I understand, part of Trump's transition team. And I don't know if they got into the interview or not, or in the interview. But yeah, I would second this. If you're watching this now and you got some time to kill today, if you're not going to be at Bushwhackers tonight, check out the interview with Pomp and Howard Lutnick. Tax handling will be big too. Yeah, actually, you know what? It's funny. I was talking about friends and family and people reaching out. That's kind of where we are right now. And somebody called me today and I talked to them for about half an hour, 45 minutes, right before I went into QuickBit. And we were talking about tax stuff and strategies and non-KYC stuff. And so actually I'm going to do one of the sessions is going to be about tax planning stuff. And it's not going to be any official advice. You're still going to talk to your CPA. I was a CPA, but I retired my designation and I don't pay a whole lot of attention to it anymore. But I do have some strategies for people for the tax side of things, for the non-KYC side of things. And I'm not going to be talking about that stuff on the public channel anymore. It's all going to be behind that. Yeah, I have to. Like it just doesn't make any sense for me to be talking about this stuff publicly. I mean, it's all going to be legally done, but we don't need anything to close the loopholes and stuff like that. So UTXOs, tax stuff, I highly recommend. You can join in the show notes. It says Living in the Future, the very top one. Just choose the $5 a month one. That'll get you access to everything here. You know what? This is exactly why I do this show. Truly. Marlo says, thank you, brother, for answering my question. Might have changed my life for real. Going to look into your advice. I'll tell you what I'm not doing this channel for. The money from YouTube. Sad. So, I mean, yeah, well, I'll leave it at that. Daniel says the market cap will do more than 10x. The research show the multiplier will be between 15 and 100x for the market cap. A lot of folks don't like British Auto, but I thought his explanation of the market cap multiplier was on point. Yeah, I mean, there's the market cap, which is price times amount of Bitcoin, and then there's the market cap multiplier. So these are different things. The market cap strictly measures the price times the amount of Bitcoin, or the price times the amount of MicroStrategy shares. That's what the market cap is. But the market cap multiplier looks at every new dollar that flows into Bitcoin, what impact that has on the price, which then impacts the market cap. But that's why it's the market cap multiplier. Kind of confusing, but at the same time, just understand that there are different things. The market cap is one thing, very simple metric, price times shares outstanding, or price times Bitcoin in circulation. And then there's market cap multiplier, which measures the new liquidity coming into Bitcoin and what effect that has on the market cap. $152,000. Yo. I see the next comment here from Ricardo. It says God candles galore. How are we looking? Mine's frozen. That's usually a good sign. It's usually a good sign or a bad sign. Oh no. 76.6. I mean, okay, let me show you this too while I'm showing you my phone. My cousin just texted me, said, did you leave the iPhone world, or why is my text green? Yeah, I left the iPhone world, and it was the best decision I've ever made. This was from Serge, sent this today. I don't know if it'll show up here or not. Serge, who was on the show the other day, the very first guest on the Bitcoin Journey. But I don't know if you can see that or not. It's kind of hard to see on the screen here, but that's the last 4 bull runs that we've went through. I think the top one was 2000 and I can't even see, but you can see the black one there. It's hard to see the black one, but it's the one that doesn't finish. It's just kind of halfway point there, but that's where we are right now compared to the other bull runs. So in other words, the movement upwards hasn't even begun yet. All right, I'm going to try to keep up with some comments here. It's a good question. And I was wondering this too. I told you I was at QuickBit this morning, and I was talking with Dale, and he was talking about how the first Bitcoin ATM was in Canada, in Vancouver, 2013. And Dale had his first Bitcoin ATM here in Regina in 2014. But I was thinking to myself, we never discussed it, but I was thinking in my own head, like, what's the reason for that? Because Canada was the first to have a Bitcoin ETF. They were talking about Bitcoin like 10 years ago in Canadian Parliament, and the Bitcoin ATM was in Canada first, in Vancouver. I don't really understand why so many Canadians are so deep into Bitcoin. I don't understand it. I mean, I know why. Like, the main reason is Trudeau, because anybody with a brain understand what his dad or his stepdad did to our economy. I laugh, but it's fucking the truth. There's zero chance that Justin Trudeau is Pierre Trudeau's son. Zero chance. I wouldn't even put it at 1% chance. He is 100% Fidel Castro's. Can I get in trouble for saying that on YouTube? I don't know. You know what I mean. But Trudeau definitely played a big part in that. A lot of people knew what was going to happen to the Canadian economy when he was prime minister or were announced prime minister. And he's been here for 9 years now. How? I don't know. But I'd say that that's the biggest reason. So yes, he's destroyed Canada, but yes, he's created a ton of new Bitcoiners. I'm not sure what's going on over here in Zapstream. It says your balance is below 500 sats. Please top up or use this link. And then Spaceman said, I tried the link in the Zapstream and sent 500 sats. Maybe that fixes it. Here, let me see. I didn't know that was possible. Let me see the balance here. Yeah, it worked. I didn't know you could do that. So Spaceman just funded from the link here, funded the show. Usually when that warning comes up, I have to pop in and add sats to it. But no, it definitely worked. I see 500 sats here and my balance is back in the green. So that's kind of cool. I didn't know that was a real thing. So thank you, Spaceman. I appreciate that. Very interesting. Trump derangement syndrome is definitely real. Even Bitcoin derangement syndrome is. I have to tell this story now. I have to tell a story because this is also from my chat with Dale today. And I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to mention any people. Not that anybody would know, but I still don't want to sue anybody here. But he said that one of the guys who was coming to, like, QuickBit is a brick and mortar here in Regina, right? So it's like a shop. You got coffee in there. There's some seats. You can work there if you want to. It's a beautiful place. But speaking of Bitcoin derangement syndrome, and this is just kind of the societal view on Bitcoin. This is what made me think of this. But he said that when they first opened up the shop back in 2021, there's a guy who was coming there. One of their, I don't know if they have members or not, but someone was coming there like every Saturday just to hang out, talk about Bitcoin, because you know as well as anybody, like it's very lonely as a Bitcoiner. You can't talk about it to your family, your spouse, your friends, your coworkers. It's a very lonely place. So this guy was going to QuickBit every Saturday. And it eventually got to the point, and he wasn't telling his wife because he didn't want to tell her that he was into Bitcoin because it was historically kind of frowned upon by society. It had a very negative lens around it. And so he wouldn't say where he was going to. I'm sure he had some sort of, explanation for it. But she thought that he was cheating on her because he was going to hang out with Bitcoiners at QuickBit. So I thought that was fucking hilarious. And that just goes to show kind of how far we've come now from, having to tell your wife you're going somewhere other than hanging out with Bitcoiners to the president of the United States talking about Bitcoin. So I thought that was pretty funny. I got to get a kick out of that. Dan says, WEFs. Yeah, I saw this. The Harari guy stated if Trump gets elected, that would stop their global plans. And for some reason, there was somebody in my comments last night because I posted the Trump pump video. And somebody's like, Trump is owned by the World Economic Forum. They said, you're smoking Trump crack. Trump is owned by the World Economic Forum. Just like, what? Where do people come up with these theories? Like Trump literally told the World Economic Forum to, 2 middle fingers at their conference. Okay, I'm a fair bit behind here, but we'll try to keep up. Noah says there's a Bitcoin meme in that story somewhere. I thought that was hilarious. '90s family says, let's remember no politicians are our friends. I mean, I agree with that and I disagree with it too. I could probably think of about 5, maybe even less than that, 5 politicians on the entire globe that I trust. I'm not saying that they're my friends. I'm not saying that they want the best for everybody, but I think that there's a big differentiation between somebody like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris versus a guy like Donald Trump and JD Vance. There's a very big disconnect there between their vision of the world. So, I mean, it depends how you define friends. But I would say that the three politicians for sure that I trust, as much as I could trust a politician, and they're all I don't trust anybody who's been in politics their whole life. Pierre Poilievre would fit into that category. But Trump, businessman, Danielle Smith from Alberta, I love her, absolutely love her. And if anything goes south here, I'm going to Alberta, because I do think that Alberta will probably, if things continue, down this path here in Canada, I think that Alberta will probably separate itself from Trudeau and the government. But the third one would be Bukele. And all three of those politicians probably have a lot of characteristics and policies that not everybody likes. But I know that their grand vision, not policy by policy, but their grand vision for the world is to bring back sovereignty and freedom and right of choice for people. And it's not just they're not just talking about it. They're putting things into place that prove that, right? It's the whole thing. Watch what they do, not what they say. And Trump, Smith, and Bukele, to me, have demonstrated the fact that they are for the people. Hey, Duncan. Evening, everyone. Better late than never. Finally got the kids to bed. It's funny how everybody watching the show is in such different time zones. What do we got here? Oh, we hit 77K. I'm gonna have to post my normal post on Nostr. Every time we go up $1,000, I post the AC/DC Thunderstruck video. So I got to do that, I guess, after. Okay, what do we got here? Rajesh says, I first subscribed to the $8 one. This is on Living in the Future, but now I took the $5 one and the YouTube subscription. Oh, that's appreciate it, Rajesh. So the $8 one just gets you a little bit more. It actually gives you access to the Bitcoin journey. So that's more for somebody who's just getting into Bitcoin. So I would say if you're brand new to Bitcoin, if you want information on like what gives it value, how to set up a wallet, how to send, how to receive, how to buy, all that kind of stuff. It's called the Bitcoin Journey course. It's 21 videos. They're all about 10 or 15 minutes long, but it takes you through the journey of getting into Bitcoin. So that $8 tier, you don't need it, but that's what it gets you access to, is the Bitcoin Journey course. All the videos in there. Buck 52,000 says, how are they able to freeze the Canadian truck drivers Bitcoin? You know what? I don't know. I'm not well versed enough in that whole story to tell you that. But I think it was cooperation from the exchanges, because I remember there was an exchange who basically told I think it was either Kraken or it was a US exchange. The Canadian government reached out to them. Yeah, it might not have been American exchange. I forget who it was, but there was an exchange who basically told Trudeau and the government to fuck off. They wrote them a nice letter saying, we appreciate your decision here or whatever you're trying to do, but kindly fuck off. So I think there was about 30-40% of the Bitcoin in the convoy that got frozen, but the majority of it went through. And all of the bank accounts got frozen, plus normal people's bank accounts. So that should have been a real eye-opener to Canadians, but it wasn't. It wasn't. Everybody else in the world took note of what was happening there in Canada and Bitcoin and how the implications of that, but Canadians didn't. I shouldn't say all Canadians, but the average Canadian didn't understand what was happening there. The fact that the federal government was freezing people's bank accounts and people were using Bitcoin to go around that. Oh yeah, I better stop talking here a little bit because I gotta I got to do the presentation tonight, and I need some voice and brain cells left here. All right, so let's, what do we got here? We're at an hour. We're at 2:42. I want to talk about the second part of the MicroStrategy. I titled the video yesterday, MicroStrategy is the only strategy. And I talked about the options that they have. I talked about the convertible debt that they've been using and how that works, what the benefit is. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into the convertible debt aspect of it. And I also want to talk about from both people's sides of this and how it's a win-win for both sides, which is kind of crazy. People have called it like the infinite money glitch. The one thing I saw yesterday, I was actually going to do a full show about this, and I might still, but I'm going to do just a shorter clip for this. But I'm pretty sure that in the Big Short, everybody's familiar with that whole thing and how it worked and what was happening there. Not everybody understands it, but I think they have a good general idea of what happened. But it was Michael Burry who saw what was coming with the housing market in the US and shorted it, bet against it. And I think that whole thing, he made about $800 million. That was like his main take home after everything happened, everything collapsed in 2008. And they compared that and they said, Michael Burry in The Big Short, what that was based off of, made $800 million off the US real estate crash. And Saylor's kind of doing the exact same thing right now, but he's, instead of shorting the real estate market, he's shorting the fiat dollar. And he's already at, before Bitcoin has even moved this bull run, he's already up 8 billion. So the Big Short, there's a big thing about it. There's a Hollywood movie about it. He made 800 million. Michael Saylor is already up $8 billion. And I haven't said this on the show for a while, but it's worth mentioning here. The difference between it's easy to say million, it's easy to say billion, it's easy to see two words, but the difference between a million and a billion is basically a billion. If you think about that, if you understand that, that's how much more a billion is from a million. So anyways, he's already up 8 billion and he's basically shorting fiat. He's shorting the fiat dollar. That's his strategy. And so the convertible debt aspect of this, the one thing that I wanted to dive into a little bit further was that, this is what happens. You have to look at it through the eyes of somebody who would be lending their money to Michael Saylor and why they would be doing that. Because we know that they're hardly getting any sort of interest rate from it. His loans, his financing is between 0% and 1.5%. Compared to if you wanted to take on $1 billion loan, it would probably be 5, 6, 7 or more percent, right? So he's getting very favorable rates. So why does it make sense for somebody to enter into that agreement? Because it's convertible. So they can convert that debt into shares. They get a fixed in price. If the price of MicroStrategy goes up, they can buy it at that price and they can cash in. The example I used yesterday was their convertibility option. Let's say it's $200 per share, and the price of MicroStrategy shares run up to $2,000 per share. They can convert that debt into shares at $200 at the agreed upon amount. So their gain there, that's where they're getting their return from Saylor. So from their perspective, this is how it makes sense, because you could say, well, yeah, in a perfect world, when the price goes from 200 to 2,000, that makes sense. But what happens when it goes the other way? Well, there's a wasp in here. I thought all the wasps were dead. That's why the door is open here. Oh, it just flew out. There you go. So that's where was I there? There's still risk there, right? Because, well, maybe the share goes from 200 to 100 and they don't want those shares. But that's the risk. They're still going to get their original balance back. Let's say they lent Saylor $1 billion to buy Bitcoin. It's called I think it's a call option. So they would say, okay, we want to convert, or we want to take back our debt at the end of the term. So if the price would be below their agreed upon amount, then they would just take back their $1 billion loan. They'd get the $1 billion, the principal back, plus the interest that Saylor would have paid them through the years. As much as low as it is, it's still income. And they would have lost that trade, but they're still getting their principal back, their $1 billion in principal back. So that's worst case. That's why it makes sense for these investors to take this option with Saylor. But then if you think about it, so then the lender gives Saylor $1 billion. Saylor takes that money, buys Bitcoin with it. As the price of Bitcoin goes up, the value of MicroStrategy, the share price goes up, which goes along with their mission there for the convertible debt. So that's in good times. In bad times too, they can just get their principal back, get their interest. That's it. So there's really no downside to either side here. And we talked about in the clip yesterday too, like Saylor can do that. They can issue convertible debt. If the share price goes up, they get a bunch of money coming in through convertible debt. The share price goes up. They can sell some of their shares, buy more Bitcoin, increase the balance sheet of the company. Share price goes up, or they can issue more shares, which that's the strategy that I don't love. And I think that they're trying their best to go away from that, which is diluting other people's shares to buy more Bitcoin. But they could do it in like a bear market. Historically, if you look at when Saylor has bought Bitcoin, it's not during bear markets. He didn't buy much Bitcoin when the price was like $20,000 because market sentiment, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him to be doing it at that time. But I think now that he has a much more proven track record and people understand what he's doing here, I think that he could actually raise a lot of money now because he has a huge network of people who have seen the strategy at work. And I think that he's going to be able to raise money during a bear market and capitalize on the low price of Bitcoin. So shareholders, they probably won't love the fact that their shares are being diluted, but they're doing it in a way because the price of Bitcoin is down. So they're getting more sats per share. That's the whole thing. That's what every company in a decade from now, the only thing that they're going to care about is sats per share. Earnings per share, obviously, but sats per share too. And they have 250,000 Bitcoin today. They have 42 billion coming into Bitcoin through this same raising debt over the next 3 years. And so the price of Bitcoin goes up, the value of the company goes up. They can raise more money. They can sell shares, buy more Bitcoin. It's kind of like a cheat code. He's literally shorting the fiat dollar right now with Bitcoin. Nobody understands it. Such a huge opportunity there. But keep in mind, and I didn't mention this yesterday, I should have. That's the other thing I want to mention here, is there are risks involved, right? Because compared to holding Bitcoin, somebody else is holding MicroStrategy's Bitcoin on their behalf, and somebody else is holding your shares in MicroStrategy on your behalf. So that's the risk there. It sounds like a great play. It makes a lot of sense, but there is a lot of risk there in terms of counterparty that you don't have with Bitcoin, right? So that's what I suggest is every time, you're thinking about this, if you're going to go buy some MicroStrategy after watching this, only do that with the money you have in like your pension accounts. The money that's already in the system, that's good to go. That's good to go in a MicroStrategy. You don't have to worry about the tax implications. You don't have to worry about the fees of withdrawal fees, all that bullshit. You just swap it around, buy MicroStrategy, let that grow, preferably in like a tax-free account. But that's the money you use. And any amount of cash you have, any amount of savings account or savings, that goes into Bitcoin. You get Bitcoin, you get some cold storage, you get a hardware device, you learn how to manage it. That's what you do because you have full custody of that. There's no other asset like that. That's the number one that everybody should be going for with cash outside the system. But any money in the system, I would highly suggest looking into MicroStrategy. Oh, this is exactly. Jason, if the US starts allocating to their strategic reserve in January and Saylor is buying 42 million, I think it was 45 million a day. That's the, you see $42 billion over 3 years. You're like, okay, well, that's a lot of money. But then you actually break it down and you see, okay, that's $45 million per day. That's how much Bitcoin MicroStrategy is going to be buying. 45 million per day for 3 years. There will absolutely be a new floor price for Bitcoin, and it's going to be very high. The other clip I showed yesterday, and this was a real, like I'd seen this before, but I hadn't seen it in about 6 months, but it was a real eye opener for me. And a lot of people were saying the same last night. So I want you to go check this out. If you weren't at the show yesterday, if you didn't see the part where we looked at how many years it would take the average person to get to 1 Bitcoin, we calculated 20 years for the average person based on an average income, based on very, very conservative expenses. I think it would take longer than that, but 20 years. So go back, and maybe if I remember, I'll put the link in the description here today for that video. It's about 5 minutes long, but it shows like the actual numbers and where the numbers are coming from, the price of Bitcoin today, how long it'll take. And that's assuming that the price stays here forever or for the next 20 years. That's assuming that the price is going to be 75,000 for the next 20 years. So again, the point of that is just to make sure that you understand how valuable the Bitcoin is that you're holding. Don't take it for granted. Even if it's 2 million sats that you think is, okay on the exchange for a while because it's only 2 million sats, you have no idea how much the 2 million sats are going to be worth next year or 10 years from now or 40 years. Like, don't leave any crumbs behind here, or old wallets. So you're just like, whatever. I have 3 million sats on an old ledger. Who cares? Those 3 million sats, nobody understands how valuable those 3 million sats are going to be one day. So treat every sat, regardless of how much they are, protect those with everything that you can. And you have to invest some time or some money, but learn how to protect that Bitcoin. I have a Justin Bieber song stuck in my head right now. I'm doing my best not to sing it on the live show. I got a sore neck too. What the heck's going on here? Okay. We got about 5 more minutes here. Was there anything else I wanted to talk about? Let me just check quickly. I feel like there was. Oh, this, yeah. I'll probably have to wait till tomorrow to talk about this. This just came out today. Oh, I don't want to tease you, so we'll talk about it now, even if we're a couple minutes late here. I'm horrible at scheduling. I need an assistant. Bad. I just have too much fun doing this stuff. All right, let's bring this up. And it seems to me like this is all speculation. You know what else we got to do? We got to give away some Bitcoin. We didn't do it on yesterday's show. What Justin Bieber song is in my head, you're wondering? Is it too late now to say so? You know that one? Sorry. I have no idea why. I have no idea where I heard it. But it's jammed in there, and I need to get it out. Okay, it's going to be a little bit harder today because I only got one screen. Okay, so get your cell phones out. Get your Lightning wallets opened up. We're going to give away some Bitcoin right now. So if you have Wallet of Satoshi, Coinos, any Lightning wallet I think works. But we're going to give away some Bitcoin here. So this Bitcoin is courtesy of our friends at Bitcoin Well. And we do a little giveaway here every day on the show. So I'm going to have to exit my screen here, but you can see it should show up. So are we ready? Set. Go. $2,100 sats. We got a big one today. Everybody's scrambling. You know, I just realized we didn't even do the mempool today. Everyone's scrambling to get 2,100 sats. Let's see if it's still around. I highly, highly doubt it is, but you never know. Maybe people are sleeping. People fell asleep with the Bitcoin journey on today. No, it's gone. So congrats to whoever won the 2,100 sats today. That is awesome. Okay, so let's carry on. That was courtesy of our friends at the Bitcoin Well. Bitcoin Well is a Canadian company. They're a platform. They're not a Bitcoin exchange, they're a Bitcoin platform, because I think that their end goal is to, Briggs, when I talk to Adam, how he explains their mission, their goal at Bitcoin Well is to give self-sovereignty to everybody. That's their main goal. So this isn't like something where you send fiat in and they give you Bitcoin and they hold it for a while. You can hold it there. They earn money off of you. No, they don't touch your Bitcoin. So they want you to have complete sovereignty, complete control over your Bitcoin. That's how they design the platform. They have 1% fee. They have the very cool and interactive Bitcoin wishing well there, which if you use the code, what's the link? bitcoinwell.com/Jor. bitcoinwell.com/Jor, Jor. Use that code, sign up for an account, spend like $100 on Bitcoin, buy some Bitcoin, try it out. Regardless of what exchange or platform you're using right now, I highly encourage you to check out Bitcoin Well. It's the only exchange I use now. But try it out, spend $100, $200, get some sats. Instead of using your usual one, try out Bitcoin Well, and you're going to get 5 free tosses into the wishing well. So you can win between 500 sats and 1 million sats if you use the code bitcoinwell.com/Jor. Sign up from there, get an account, buy some Bitcoin, try it out, and you're going to get some free Bitcoin right off the hop. 5 free tosses, which is a minimum of 2,500 sats you're going to get just for using that link. And if you're living in the future, if you buy into the theories that we talk about, those 2,500 sats are going to be pretty valuable in the future. So thanks again to Bitcoin Well. And they support the show, they support the community. So the least we could do is give a little bit back to them. What else do we have here, folks? Jay Burr says, oh, it's Nunchuck. Yes, thank you, Jason. Nunchuck told, they're Americans, right? Nunchuck? I was thinking they were Canadian, but I'm pretty sure they're American. But they told Trudeau's government to GFY when they came looking for the names of people who were sending Bitcoin. Nunchuck told them to beat it. Sailor to become the world's first trillionaire. I don't think anybody else has the ability to, other than Elon, maybe. Maybe Howard Lutnick. Maybe Trump. Maybe if Trump's Mr. 100, he could be. It's another cool thing that nobody really talks about with Trump. The guy was president for 4 years. 0 salary. Did not take a salary. You see most politicians get into politics. They go in with a net worth of 500 grand. They leave politics with a net worth of $50 million. And that's not their salary. They take donors. They get behind the scenes money. Trump didn't take a salary, which a lot of people conveniently glaze over. Yes, Vamos Viver Fora. Sounds Italian. To boldly go where no other money has come before or gone before. Yeah, it's all unprecedented. That's this whole thing. That's the title of today's show. We're in absolutely unprecedented times here in Bitcoin. Sorry, I've been drinking too much coffee here on the show. Wasting your time. This is another good analogy for the million billion thing. A million seconds is a little over 11 days, and a billion seconds is a little over 31 years. Wow. That's insane. That's insane. Rajesh says, Sailor's just getting started. Remember, 66K, 70K is all small compared to what is coming in the next year. That's what you have to think about. Bitcoin MicroStrategy is 100% Bitcoin. That's it. They have some cash flows. They buy Bitcoin with it. But as the price of Bitcoin goes up, the value of MicroStrategy goes up with it. And there's a multiplier on top of that because they're earning the sat per share, the Bitcoin yield, whatever you want to call it, is going up with it. So it's not just like with Bitcoin, it's going to be above Bitcoin. It's pretty crazy. This is a good question, though. This is a good question. How can MicroStrategy strategy go up in flames? I would say that the only way that because, you know, whenever you're talking like this, where it sounds too good to be true, it usually is, right? So a disclaimer of this whole thing, and I probably should have said this at the start of my segment today, but usually when something sounds too good to be true, it is. But then you think back on like the Big Short. They shorted the real estate market. They saw what was coming and they took action. MicroStrategy is shorting fiat. He sees what's coming here. There's no way for the fiat system, the fiat dollar, to turn around. There's no way at this point, $36 trillion in debt, it ever gets turned around. So yes, most things that are too good to be true are. But I mean, we have a real life example with the US real estate market. Michael Burry, 2008, shorted real estate, won. Michael Saylor, 2020, shorted fiat, winning. But how can it go up in flames? I mean, if they mishandle the Bitcoin, if the US government, you know, if Kamala would have won and they said this MicroStrategy thing's way too out of control, we need to stomp it down, they could do that. The US government has not unlimited power, but way too much power. So the government could go in and, you know, say, that's it, this is done. This is a threat to our dollar. This is a threat to our system. They could, you know, shut down the company. I don't think they could take the Bitcoin, but they could, maybe. So I would say either they get hacked, they get careless with the Bitcoin, they get, you know, they lose the Bitcoin, or the government comes after them. Other than that, like, I don't know. I really don't know, because you think about like maybe their software business fails. Okay, it's like 200 million a year that they're buying Bitcoin with. It's like this on their balance sheet. What else? Saylor could die. Okay, they still have the Bitcoin. They still have the playbook. I don't know. Like, that's something that I think a lot about, is like, what could go wrong here? Because it does seem too good to be true. But so I'd say those are the two main things, is that they lose the Bitcoin, something happens to the Bitcoin, or the government shuts them down. And we know Trump, New York, Nijdig, Lutnick, they're kind of all in the same club. They're not going to shut down MicroStrategy. In fact, I think that they will use MicroStrategy in the future. They will work with MicroStrategy in the future, because yes, they're a software company today, but in 10 years from now, their software company is probably going to be toast. They're going to be a bank. They're going to be an insurance company. They're going to be partners probably with whoever's in charge at the time. So that's a good question. It is something that you have to think on, because, you know, when you're putting real money at stake and you have the option between that and Bitcoin, you're always choosing Bitcoin because there's no risk. I mean, there's risk of it going down, but there's no risk of it getting seized. So that's what I'd say to that. Everything will go up in flames is not self-custody. I mean, I sort of agree with that. But, you know, when you're talking about a public company here with this much at stake, I think that they're doing a pretty good job. They probably have things in place to protect that, I would think. Okay, we'll take 5 more minutes here. I keep saying this is like when I was a kid, me and my brother used to be playing outside, and we'd just say, okay, Mom would say, supper's ready. 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes. What do you think the share price will get to this bull run? So it's already gone from, like, let's say $100 to, what is it now, 250? I don't even know. It's doubled though. And it'll go up with Bitcoin. So whatever you think Bitcoin's going to get to, if it's going to be last bull run at 11x, which is crazy, insane. And that was before Wall Street was here, right? So you think about Bitcoin, I think it's going to be more than that, honestly, but I don't know for sure. Who knows for sure? Nobody knows. But let's say 10X's. So MicroStrategy shares would go from 250 to 2,500 if Bitcoin 10X'd, plus the premium on that. So that MicroStrategy would probably do 15 times, maybe 20 times. No, probably 15 conservatively, assuming a 10X increase in Bitcoin. So what's that? 10X would be 2,100. 15X would be $3,000, just over $3,000, 3,200. Is that right? Yeah. So $3,000 from 250 today. I wouldn't say that that's out of reach. I don't think that that would be a crazy thing to happen. I think that's kind of what most people expect to happen. That's what has happened in the past, but it's certainly no guarantee. Trump being in charge definitely helps that. If Kamala won, I would not bet on much happening here. I think the bull run would still play out. It would just not reach anywhere near what it's going to with a Bitcoin-friendly president in charge. Okay, this is worth talking about here. Ricardo says, former Democrat here. I voted Republican this time around. I got tired of all the woke, broke bullshit. Helps that I'm a Bitcoiner. Trump supports that. Bitcoin opened my eyes to the right side. That's the thing. There's so many good chat. I absolutely love doing these live shows because there's so many different perspectives. There's so many great ideas and great thoughts in here. And it's why I love our Living in the Future community so much too. It's nonstop. Anytime you want to talk about Bitcoin, anytime you want to find something new out, you can just log in and talk to people about it anytime you want to. And, again, Bitcoin's a pretty lonely place, and having a community of people you can talk to about this kind of stuff, I think makes a world of difference. But that's the thing too, like Bitcoin, we talked about the Bukele at the start of the show and the fork in humanity, the fork that Bitcoin's putting in humanity and what that's going to look like. Bitcoin's so much more than just money. Truly. You look at El Salvador as a perfect example of that. Like, yes, El Salvador basically wiped out their it's a whole mentality. It's a whole different way of thinking and looking at the world. El Salvador basically wiped out their whole crime. They were the most dangerous place in South America. It might have been the world. And since they adopted Bitcoin, since they went down this path of, their path, it's one of the safest places now to visit. And it's not because Bitcoin went up in price. It's because it's just a totally different mentality that people see. It goes against the establishment. It goes against the corruption. It takes away a small group of people's ability to create money. That's what every problem in the world is caused by. A small group of people having access to print money. And when you go to a Bitcoin standard, when you think in Bitcoin, when you join a Bitcoin community, everything changes. The way you look at the world changes. You realize that there is no left, there is no right, there's no blue, there's no red. We're all just human beings. And I think that if we can get back to that somehow, if we can get back to that mentality, I think Bitcoin's going to bring us there because it is apolitical. The left doesn't control it. The right doesn't control it. There's no country that controls it or company. And I think once we get back to really understanding that we're all humans, we should be working together and we're all just like one, everything changes. And it has nothing to do with like wealth. It's all just principles and logic and community and a shared vision for the future. So thanks for sharing that, Ricardo. That's great to hear. Not that you're, a Republican now, but that it's opened your eyes. I think that's the main thing. Knees Duts 3112. Just had a discussion with work colleagues. They're still convinced Bitcoin is a Ponzi scheme. They still worship real estate and couldn't understand when I said it's merely shelter. You know what? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about them. Don't. There's a phrase, everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. And it's not to be like mean to people. That's why I don't usually like using the words normies and NPCs and have fun staying poor. But I absolutely can get behind the fact that everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. Once you have an open mind, once you're willing to put in time and energy to learn about this, that's when things change. And that's what Bitcoin, that's who Bitcoin rewards. So people never get to Bitcoin because you tell them to, they get there on their own. So if they understand real estate, they'll probably understand Bitcoin one day. But the gap there, just be happy that they don't. Because if everybody understood Bitcoin, everybody understood what MicroStrategy was doing, there would be no opportunity. If everybody knew what a UTXO was, if everybody knew how to use a hardware wallet, if everybody knew who Howard Lutnick was, the opportunity is gone. So yeah, I mean, we all want to get to the point where Bitcoin's $1 million or $100 million or whatever it's going to get to. But just get as much as you can while we're still on this stage here, because it's not going to be like this forever. Jet says, do you recommend having multiple hardware wallets? Yeah, I do. And that's a nice thing for, because I talk about the cold card, I talk about the Blockstream Jade and the Passport as kind of like my main three ones. And people are like, well, I already spent $500 or $200 on a Trezor or Ledger. That's fine. You're not going to throw it in the garbage. Use that as a decoy wallet. And I know I've talked about this a little bit today, but that's going to be one of the things we talk about in the multi-generational wealth series is like decoy wallets and passphrases and how you can add another layer of security on top of your Bitcoin security, your setup. So yeah, I would suggest that. It's always nice to have a decoy, but you can use a passphrase and save a little bit of money for that. But, if any of that sounds like you're interested in it, like decoy wallets, passphrases, then join Living the Future. I think that's going to be next week. We're going to be talking about the decoy wallets. I think that's what I said. Because again, I don't love talking about this on the private show or the public show here. Sorry to Zap stream. Not very busy in there today. I've been trying to look over here. It's hard for me to see, but anyways. Rajesh says, yes. Split your holding, have sufficient so you don't have too many UTXOs. I mean, you could still have different, like if you got a cold card, and I mean, I don't know where everybody's at in terms of their Bitcoin journey here, but if you got a cold card, you can generate a whole bunch of different wallets with the cold card, up to like 10,000, I think. So you don't need a different hardware device every time you want to use one wallet or one receive address. Like you set up your cold card, you connect it to your Sparrow wallet on your laptop. And within the Sparrow wallet, you have like as many different receive addresses as you want to. So you could send some Bitcoin to one receive address, and you could send some more Bitcoin to a different receive address. It's all within the same wallet there on Sparrow, and you use the same device to access that wallet, but you can set up multiple within the same device, same wallet. And that's important for privacy stuff, because if you put all of your Bitcoin into one receive address, one UTXO, and you want to spend some in 10 years from now, you have to move that Bitcoin out of there. And Bitcoin's very transparent. So let's say you got a Bitcoin. Bitcoin becomes worth $100 million in 20 years from now, and you want to buy a car with that Bitcoin. So you got to send the guy some Bitcoin from your one UTXO, your one receive address, and they're going to be able to follow that back to your wallet, and they're going to see, holy shit, this guy's one Bitcoin. I know where this guy lives. I know how to get a hold of him. I know what we can do to get $100 million worth of Bitcoin. Like, this is how you have to be thinking about things. You can't look at your Bitcoin and say, oh, you know what? I only have $5,000 in there today. So, I don't have to worry about my wallet. I don't have to worry about UTXOs. I don't have to worry about splitting them, the privacy concerns. This is the time that you have to be worried about this stuff. Because the small amount that you invest of time and money today is going to make all the difference, not only saving fees, but privacy stuff. And Noah says, remember, you do need multiple hardware devices for multi-sig. I did the test and donated 60,000 sats to the network. Yeah, that's another thing, actually. Thank you, Noah, for bringing that up. Because I've been talking about, like doing advisory for people. I've been advising people with Bitcoin for the last couple of years now. And it's been wrapping up more and more. So I decided to reach out to a few people within the Living in the Future community, Noah being one of them. And so we're gonna form a little team. And so if you need, an hour, 2 hours, you need a multi-signature setup, you want to run a node, you want to, whatever it is, you learn about UTXOs, how to manage all your Bitcoin. You can set up an hour with us or 2 hours. But Noah's good with multi-sig. I don't love talking about this on the public stuff, but I have a couple multi-signature wallets set up. And when you're dealing with that kind of stuff that you're so unfamiliar with, it's not very important. It's absolutely instrumental that you have somebody who's done it before to help you with it. Because there is a lot can go wrong. As Noah said, she donated 60,000 sats to the network because there's lots that can go wrong, even with the single signature wallet. So again, this is what I would say. If you're listening to this and you're like, okay, well, now I'm starting to wonder about my own setup, just reach out. Like, we'll set up a 15-minute call. You can say where you're at, what you want to get to, and the direction to go down. So the one thing I would start with is I would say, join the Living in the Future. You're going to be connected to me, people like Noah, a couple very knowledgeable people in the community, and then 75 or 80 other people in there, all Bitcoiners. So join that, feel it out, check out the resources we have, chat, and then, in a month or a week or so, set up a call with one of us. That's what I would say on that. Okay, well, my 5 minutes turned into 10 minutes here pretty fast. Sharper than sword. If you can self-manage your 401k, or TFSA here. No, maybe not. I don't know what a 401k is. Let me just read this here. If you can self-manage your retirement fund, can you invest it into Bitcoin? Is it best to get a completely separate cold device, or okay to use the same one but a different account? Well, I just kind of answered that, but I don't think you can do that in the States. I know that in Canada. I know that there are companies in the US who allow you to hold Bitcoin through a 401k. Maybe. I actually don't know. I mean, the best option would be, not the best, but the most obvious answer would be holding a Bitcoin ETF with your retirement fund. But we just talked about MicroStrategy. I would much rather hold it in MicroStrategy than the Bitcoin ETFs. But sharper than sword, if you want more info on like the investment stuff, I'll put you in touch with someone in either a advisor in Canada or in the US. And we can definitely help you with the cold storage devices and whatever setup you need there. All my information is in the show notes here. Contact, website, Living in the Future link. It's all there. This is an interesting point here. I think the government will buy MicroStrategy at some point. I think that MicroStrategy and the Bitcoin ETFs are going to be like the gateway to Bitcoin. So people are going to see the price going up. They're going to be like, holy shit, I need to get in on this. They're not going to have time to set up an account. They're not going to have time to learn about Bitcoin. They're just going to want immediate exposure to Bitcoin. And so they're going to go into MicroStrategy. They're going to go into maybe Semler Scientific, the Bitcoin ETFs. But then from there, now that they got some skin in the game, they're going to learn that they need to hold that Bitcoin themselves. So that applies to governments, that applies to pension funds, that applies to companies, businesses, and that applies to individuals. So I think most people are going to start with like a MicroStrategy, Bitcoin ETF, Semler Scientific, and then they're going to learn eventually that they need to hold this stuff themselves. And I think that that's where we're going to. How do you feel about the push for banks to custody Bitcoin? I think it's absolutely going to happen. Banks aren't the enemy. Remember that, Omar. Banks aren't the enemy. MicroStrategy is going to be a bank in 10 years or less from now. Trump has a bank. Nobody really understands what's happening there, but like the Liberty Financial, World Liberty Financial, it's essentially a bank. Everything's going to be tokenized. stable coins, Bitcoin, MicroStrategy shares, Apple shares, Tesla. You're going to be able to tokenize everything. You're going to be able to swap back and forth instantly. And so if you want to buy supper with a fraction of your Apple share, you're going to be able to do that. The problem is central banks. The problem is giving a small group of people the ability to create money out of thin air. That's the problem. Banks are not the problem. Your credit union will hopefully exist one day because they're going to have to help people. You're going to have to help people. But banks are going to be there, and we're going to need banks. Because me personally, I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. And if I can go to the bank and I can say, here, I got 10 million sats. Please give me a line of credit. The banks are going to want your Bitcoin. Yeah, understand that. You're probably going to get preferred rates for giving the bank your Bitcoin. So you're going to go to the bank and say, I got 10 million sats. They're going to hold a key. You're going to hold a key. They're going to be able to verify it anytime. And so you can take out money. You don't pay tax on that. That's like people have been doing this for decades within real estate. They buy real estate. They go to the bank. They use that as leverage. They buy more real estate, go back to the bank, refinance it, buy more. They never pay any taxes on it, but they have a shitload of real estate at the end of it. And I think that's what people are going to probably do with Bitcoin. But for me, it's like, I don't want to pay tax on my Bitcoin. So I'm going to hold my Bitcoin forever. And I'm going to use banks to lend against my Bitcoin, get stable coins, get currency, whatever you use at the time, without having to sell my Bitcoin and pay tax or, have to worry about buying it back for a higher price next year. Is Summer a public company? Yep. Check them out. They own over 1,000 Bitcoin. Spaceman still makes you look like a dummy. I didn't know about needing 2 hardware wallets to be H, so thank you for your service. Yeah, I mean, I think that's where we can maybe end things today, because I did talk a lot about a lot of different things today. But the main message I think that I wanted to end with today is that you have to understand how valuable each sat is. And when you look at your Bitcoin wallet, don't look at the price of it. It might say $1,000 today, and you might be like, okay, well, who cares? It's $1,000. I got $1,000 in fucking Victoria's Secret shares. Who cares about $1,000? But that $1,000 worth of Bitcoin is literally going to change your family's direction forever. If you can figure out a way to hold on to that through everything we go through here in the next little while and the coming years, because you have to understand here with Bitcoin, if people know you have Bitcoin, you're going to have a target on your back. You want to be very private with your transactions, but you have to prepare for this stuff now. You have to prepare for all this stuff now. So you're going to run into, you're going to have a target on your back. You're going to run into UTXOs, transaction fees. You're going to run into scammers. Your email is probably associated with some sketchy companies. Maybe you signed up for a Newton account here in Canada and they got your email address. They saw you bought Bitcoin back in 2019. And so they target you. As Bitcoin goes up here, it's going to get harder and harder for people to get through it. You're going to have scammers. You're going to have people out there. Everybody's going to want your Bitcoin. So you can't wait for that to happen. You have to start putting things in place now. And I think the problem that a lot of Bitcoiners run into and will run into the future is that they don't really know what they don't know. Like a perfect example of that was Spaceman said, I didn't know you needed 2 hardware wallets for a multi-signature setup. People just don't know what's available. People don't know what you need for certain things. People don't know about UTXOs. The big problem right now is that even though you have Bitcoin, you don't understand how valuable it's going to be worth, and you don't know what you don't know. So what I would say, like you hearing that, if you're somebody who felt a little bit anxious, maybe your hands got a little bit sweaty here, and you're like, holy shit, I don't really know what I'm doing here. Or, I could use some help. You can either go to somebody who's been in Bitcoin for a while and pay them $500 an hour to talk about it, or you can keep it all in, or you can risk it. You can just say, okay, well, I'm smart enough. I can get through this myself. Or what I would suggest is just start very, very simple. Join Living the Future. You're going to get 80 plus. I'm sure it's going to ramp up here in the next little while. But you got a whole community of Bitcoiners there. Not only to talk about Bitcoin with, to learn from, to ask questions, to help people with, but as things come up, let's say somebody in Ireland watched this video or heard about this and they send it to the group, you're going to be so far ahead of the average person. And the whole point of these networks and communities, other than, helping protect your Bitcoin, but the only thing it's going to do is help you move out of the fiat system faster. Because if you have a Bitcoiner in your life who sells meat, you don't have to use fiat anymore. If you have Bitcoiners in your community who want to buy and sell Bitcoin, you don't have to use the exchanges anymore. You don't have to cash it back into the fiat system. So the bigger your Bitcoin network, the faster you can leave the fiat system. So for a very almost like nominal amount, just try it out. Just try it out. You're going to get access to the Signal chat, the Discord channel, the multi-generational wealth series. And if you spend two months and it's not for you, you've wasted $10. That's less than one lunch at Pita Pit here. So the risk reward here is, very disproportionate. So I highly encourage you. And I don't mind doing 2-hour shows and helping people, or a 2-hour show yesterday, 2-hour show today. I have no issues with it. But this is all just kind of surface level stuff, right? So how much to join? It's $5 a month for the Living the Future tier. That's all you need. Unless you're somebody who's new to Bitcoin, then go the $8 a month for the Bitcoin journey. But it's $5 a month. This is not the new time for Bitcoin journey. Just this week. That's the Semlar public company. And Sharper Than Sword says, Jory, you checked out the how the hell do you say that? Europa? The Last Great Battle. No, I haven't. But I'm looking for new shows. So we're going to end it there. Wish me luck tonight. I'm doing my first ever presentation, and I'm going to need some beers because my voice is a little bit, I can tell. Wish me luck. We got the Bitcoin meetup. If you're anywhere near Regina, get in the car. Join us. 6 p.m. Bushwhackers. And everybody say bye to Arnie and say thank you, Arnie, for being such a good boy during the show today. Thank you for not whining. Thank you for not chewing your bottle. And thanks for being the best dog on the planet. All right. Have yourselves a great day, everybody. We'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow afternoon. Friday show. Bye-bye.